That's a demon?
Yeah.
Was that you suffocating Jim? Oh, Jesus! I'm picturing like a bird cage right now. No, I grabbed my fucking neck. Seriously? Yeah. Oh, oh! Something just grabbed my backpack. Yeah. You just moved that ball?
Is there anything inhuman down here?
I hear growling.
Yeah. Hello and welcome to the Paranormal Nut Podcast. I'm Sean. That's Jim. And it has been a little bit, but we're back. We're rolling. And we are back with a great guest. Author, paranormal enthusiast.
Overall, just great guy.
Just overall, great guy.
And very handsome.
Fact checked. Great guy. Brian Paone.
Yes.
I did it.
Devilishly
I got it.
handsome, right?
Devilishly handsome. So, I mean, after the Get Haunted event.
Mid-orange.
No.
Are you going backwards
Jim,
more?
I'm going backwards more.
Yeah.
After the Farnsworth house, Jim reaches out to me. I didn't make the Farnsworth, unfortunately. He reaches out to me and goes, I have a guy we need to interview.
No, this is New Egypt.
Oh, was it New Egypt? Sorry.
Yeah,
New Egypt.
I was at New Egypt.
Yeah, because
Exactly.
that's when I met you, is at New
Right.
Egypt.
Right.
He goes, I got this guy.
Was the doll room. That was fun.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah. I think I cried 3 times and peed myself twice. Yeah.
It's so
Jim
funny
goes-
because when we were walking out, all the activity spiked up. Like you just heard walking upstairs. It was like everything going on.
Yeah.
So Jim comes back. He calls me. He's like, I got somebody for the podcast. He's a great guy, author, cop, and just ultimately fun guy to be
Devilishly
around. Devilishly handsome.
Devilishly handsome.
I have that framed somewhere in one of our texts. And he said, we need to get this guy on. I go, okay, yeah, sure. Reach out to him. Let me know. And things happened. We took a while. And then eventually we all meet at Mid-Orange. We didn't have too much time to talk.
No, but we chatted.
We chatted a bit.
Yeah.
But you were kind of, the princess of the ball since, your book's coming out and everyone wanted to talk to you about it.
Well, I brought a copy for Rob, and
Yeah.
he wasn't expecting it. Nobody knew
Yeah.
I had a copy with me. So I
Yeah.
think when I walked, because I was late, right?
You
We
were late, yes.
Yeah, so I came to Mid-Orange with my sister, Alicia, and Hannah, who's actually the main character in These Walls Still Talk, who I met at MSP. So she's from Iowa, and she flew, because I'm from Salem, Massachusetts. She flew to Salem. We spent a weekend together there, and part of our little, getaway was Mid-Orange. So, that's how we fit Mid-Orange into that weekend. And nobody knew that, I was bringing a copy of the book for Rob. Like, I didn't tell anybody, so we were late. And we were late because if you remember, it was snowing. There was like,
Oh yeah,
It was April. There was snow.
random snow.
yeah. So there was traffic. It slowed us up. And Kaylee from Get Haunted, I was in communication with her through texting the whole time. She's like, where are you? I'm like, GPS is 12 minutes, 22 minutes. Has Rob started yet? Yeah, he just started. Do you think maybe you could tell him to wait? Because I wanted to give him the book at the beginning of his presentation, right? That's what I wanted to do. I didn't want to give it to him after he'd already done his spiel and people were kind of breaking out into groups because, it's just I wanted to see the look on his face when he's doing his thing and he's in his zone, and then have the book handed to him that we've spent so much time, almost a full year now, working on, right? So I was like, damn it. So I'm like trying to get there, and we get there, and I can't find parking. I don't even know where I'm supposed to park. I don't know if you remember what the parking lot looked like. I was like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna run the gate. I'm at this point, I don't even know what's going on. So found parking like the furthest from the door I could. I text Kaylee again. I'm like, I don't even know where you are. This place, there's not a single light on in any of these buildings. Like, I don't even know what
Massive
direction I'm supposed to
place.
start walking. She's like, hold on, I'll come out and get you. So she comes running out. Now we're like 20 minutes into Rob's speech. In my brain, I'm like, I know the man can talk, and I know he likes to talk, but he's got to be wrapping it up at any minute at this point, right? So I'm like, shit, I got to get in there. So, and then of course, like my sister couldn't like get her coat off right, and you know, like when you're trying to go fast,
Everything just goes wrong.
well, it's not even that. Like that would have been normal, but when you're trying to go fast, it feels like everybody else is going slower, right?
Yeah.
I feel that a normal movement now takes forever because you're panicking trying to get in somewhere, right?
Yep.
Everything's underwater.
Yeah. So if you remember when three of us walked in, it was kind of like in the middle of the presentation, you know, and then I went over and, you know, grabbed Xavier and put him on my shoulders and walked him around a bit because, you know, and then I waited for the right time and I whipped out the book and, you know, Rob had no idea. And like, you know, the dude like cried. It was great. I love making him cry. He's like, it's like my
Everyone, it was a very emotional moment. Like there's like 30 of us packed in this room. I don't know, probably closer to 35 when you add the Get Haunted.
I actually think it was like 40 people total when you do the crew, and I think there was we're up to 40. So.
Yeah. And then you essentially give him the book by like proposing and dropping on one knee.
I did. I got down on one knee and I gave him the book.
Everyone was so mad because they wanted a picture of it and like they missed it.
Yeah.
And they're like trying to recreate it, but the moment's gone now. Yeah. And everyone's like, no.
Yeah. Hey man, once the ring is on, you can't do it again.
Yeah, exactly. Made it special though. Now all of us who were there saw it. So
it was fun. It was
good. Yeah, so Mid-Orange, a great night. We saw you once walking around. I think you walked past us when Jim was doing his spirit writing. So you should have just grabbed him when he was blindfolded.
Yeah, me, Hannah, and my sister and Alicia, we spent all of Free Roam down in the basement of Mess Hall because that's where we had the shadow figure go running by us when we were in the breakout groups. So when we did Free Roam, we didn't do anything else but down there. We spent the entire Free Roam down there, lights off, phones off, you know, blacked out, you know, not staring at a screen, just standing and just getting in the room. Right. We did have a couple REM pods set up and some cat balls, but they don't light up unless they go off, which is cool, right? So you can kind of go blacked out with them. I did bring my tracer strip, but you know that constantly moves, and I didn't want there to be like that like purpley, you know, hue in the room. So I didn't set it up. So we went black, right? And Rob and Danny found us and came in and sat with us for almost an hour. So it was like the five of us in there for an hour, and we kept seeing like shifts in movement, and then something touched somebody, and then Hannah was standing like across from me, and something happened that freaked her out so much that she ran like towards me and kind of huddled like against the wall next to me. Like she was like, I don't want to be over there anymore. I don't know why, but I don't want to be over there anymore, right? And it was just there was nothing concrete, right? There's nothing that like draw you a picture of. You're like, well, draw me what it looked like. It was more of this ominous, but things moving in the darkness that you couldn't quite. It wasn't palpable, right? Which is
Mid-Orange is like notorious for this like ominous, oppressive darkness that just kind of lingers around every corner.
Right.
Well, because I know we were also down towards the end. We were down there after like Rob also like passed us to get to you.
Yeah.
We were around the corner and we were doing our spirit writing, and we got some really crazy things. No spoilers. You'll see that probably in 2 or 3 videos, depending on when this video comes out.
Because we walked through you when you were doing that and you were filming. Yeah. And we went around the corner and you know, and we went far enough away from you where your lights weren't kind of hitting us anymore.
Yeah. And that's the one thing obviously we as YouTubers are trying to show people what it's like. so they need to be able to see. And you don't like we could always do IR, but ultimately we're trying to make something so people can see it, which makes it so a lot of people don't, and we don't want to ruin a lot of people's dark vision. We don't want to ruin their, experience. So we try to
Yeah.
sequester ourselves a lot. But we're talking about maybe just running like red light or even green, or something like that. So you
Yeah.
have some light, but it's not going to break your dark vision.
Yeah.
But we still typically, we take like a 10-15 minute just sit in the darkness to kind of get the vibe everywhere we
Yeah.
go.
You kind of sit there, darkness, no sound, nothing.
Get
You're
used
just
to how
kind
the
of
building
listening
breathes.
and like
That's what we did.
feeling.
Yeah, we just let ourselves kind of sink into the room. But what you were saying about how you walk a fine line as content creators
Yep.
to like get the shot that's brightly lit so the viewers can understand what they're looking at, but you also don't want to ruin it for the people who also paid money to
Mhm.
investigate, and now you don't want to like encroach on these paid customers, right? And have them feel like, well, they're like you've kind of commandeered an area that nobody else can use because you're filming, right?
Yeah.
So when I was writing These Walls Still Talk at Missouri State Penitentiary, I was there, I was there for 8 weeks, and I would give a speech. So if you've never been to MSP or you don't know how they work, every Friday and Saturday night, they normally so we're saying 95% of the time, they do a ghost hunt at 8 to 9 or 9 to 10, and then a second ghost hunt after that for another hour. And then they have the free roam. So you can pay for this ghost hunt, you can pay for this ghost hunt, and then you can pay for free roam. So it's 3 separate groups of people, right? And before we did free roam every Friday and Saturday night for those 8 weeks, I gave a speech to the entire to the guests, all the guests. Like all the guests have to be huddled up, and whatever tour guide is running it goes over the safety. They do a safety briefing, and then they would turn it over to me, and I would get up there and I would introduce myself, and I would tell them who I was and what I was doing there. And one of the things that I said in my speech was that I said, everybody is here. Everyone here has paid to be here to have an experience and to ghost hunt. If I am in a place with my laptop and I'm writing and you want to use that place, please kick me out. You will not hurt my feelings. And I'm here for 8 weeks. I can come back when nobody's here, because I was at MSP a lot when there was nobody on the property. Like there was no one else. I was completely alone in those buildings, right? So when they were,
let's give some context for not every one of our viewers is a Get Haunted person, but
Sure.
So yeah, I think we kind of got into it, and I want to kind of explain what you actually did. You, as an author, you are writing a book, and to do that, you spent 8 weeks at Missouri State Penitentiary. And first off, that's crazy and insane, and it was not state mandated, right?
No, yeah, right. No, right. I know. Yeah.
And you took your time to write this book. These Walls Still Talk, a Get Haunted Tale by Brian Paone.
So just really quick side note, and then we can come back to that later. But it's going to be a series, but not sequels. It's going to be like the Nancy Drew series, or the Hardy Boys series, or the Goosebumps series, or the Babysitters Club series, where each one, it's a Goosebumps book, but different characters are in each book. They're different plot lines. They're different things, right? So this is the Get Haunted series. This happens to be book 1. And the story is kind of wild how because again, I'm from Salem, Massachusetts, born and raised in Salem, lived there from the day I was born until I was 30 years old. That's when I left. So 30 years in Salem. I now live in Washington, D.C. How the hell did I wind up in the Missouri State Penitentiary for 8 weeks? Right?
Yeah, that's a great story.
Fictional horror novel about a ghost hunt gone wrong, right? So that's, people are just saying, how the fuck did that happen? So really quick, bring up to speed of who I am. I've been published. My first book came out in 2007. So my first novel is coming up on 18 years old at this point. This novel, These Walls Still Talk, is my 11th overall published novel. Oprah Winfrey gave me a shout out in her book club for one of my novels. And my time travel novel was nominated for a Hugo Award in 2016.
Oh, awesome.
and I lost to The Martian. They made a movie about that with Matt Damon. That's the book I lost to.
They should have made a movie about your book.
Exactly. Hey,
so
I
here's
know
the
some
thing.
people.
I sleep at night by telling myself it's okay I lost that award because Matt Damon would have played a terrible lead in my book. that kind of, you know, he might be devilishly handsome, but
the author can't be more handsome than the actor.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think like a Jason Bateman would be better as the lead in my novel. Anyway, so you know, getting off
that guy. What's the guy from Parks and Rec? The guy from Severance. There you go.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I can't think of his name right now, but yeah.
Leslie Knope's boyfriend.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
I can't remember. Like it's
That's,
like, and I love that show, but for some reason I can't recall his name right now. But I know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
So I was out. I just finished my 10th novel. And I also have a day job, as you mentioned earlier. I've been in law enforcement since 2002, so 23 years at this point. I was a local city cop for 16 years, and now I'm a detective in the DC area. And I had to go to Missouri for training, and it was a 10-week training, and we lived in the barracks. You know, it was the whole, you know, like police academy, like a like you're literally training, right? So you are barracks, no hotels. You have a barrack mate. You know, you get assigned somebody. You're eating at the mess hall, like, you know. And after 10 weeks, we started to get bored on the weekends because you're in Missouri. There's only so many things you can do, right? And one of the guys, my training class was pretty big. It was like 42 people. And so, you know, you start to make friends. You start to make cliques, right? When you're kind of stuck with people all the time. And one of the guys, it's like, hey, you know, the Missouri State Penitentiary has overnight ghost hunts. I'd never done one before in my life, ever in my life. I'm, you know, and here I am. You'd think someone from Salem. I also grew up in a funeral home. You'd think I would have done a ghost hunt, and I never have. I've done ghost tours, like New Orleans. I did like the
walking tours,
like, you know. But I've never been like, here's a bunch of ghost hunting gear, and go find ghosts. You know, in like a haunted place. And I was like, that sounds amazing. We're going to do this. So we went, and I left like changed. I was like, I can't believe that this is a thing. And this must be how like people who skydive for the first time when they're like 40, they're like, wait a minute, I could have been doing this my whole life. And like, nobody told me about this. Right. So I left just so like starry-eyed about this ghost. I didn't want it to end. And we didn't even have that much stuff happen to us. I just had so much fun just being there and thinking that something could happen, right? That there was a possibility that something could happen.
Kind of sheds a light and makes things in life more interesting. It's an escape from, it's a real life escapism, right? Like we're actively engaging in things that are, you know, transcend our natural lives, and it's interesting. It is.
So I was like a junkie. I wanted back next weekend. I was like, wait, they do this every weekend? I'm going back next weekend. But the following weekend was a Get Haunted Nesper hosted event. It was the Devils on the Run tour, and Get Haunted was hosting it. I had never heard. Now I knew Nesper, right? Because just Lorraine and Warren, and you know the Conjuring movies, and I'm from New England.
Annabelle,
so like I understood who they were.
Yes.
I never heard of Get Haunted before in my life. Didn't know who they were. Didn't care who they were. I was going. I didn't care that the tickets were, you know, now like a special event price where they weren't the weekend before. You know, I was like, I don't care. I'm in my brain. I'm like, I'm never coming back to Missouri. So, you know, this is like,
gotta use it while you're here.
Yeah, if I could, you know, famous last words right there. So I go to this event, and there was like 100 of us, I think, maybe 75 attendees, guests. And Rob put us all in A Hall, Housing Unit 4, and he does his thing. And I, you know, didn't know who he was. You know, I was like, he's doing his speech. And when they do the breakout groups, he kind of divides the room into, so there's 4 buildings that make up MSP that the public is allowed to go in. So he split the crowd into 4s. And it just so happened that my whole row was all the guys that I was in training with. So we took an entire row. And then the row in front of us was this woman, Hannah, and her friend Lizzie, who was there. So Rob, we were a group. So just like serendipitously, Rob put Hannah and her friend Lizzie with me and my buddies. And as you know, you do each location for about 45 minutes, right? And there's a lot of walking at MSP. It's not just like, it's kind of like Mid-Orange, but I even think that the distances are even greater, like going to the gas chamber and stuff. So you know, by the end of like 3.5 hours, like I had become like fast friends with Hannah and Lizzie. And I had never experienced like stations like that where you go, someone explains the equipment, and then everyone gets to use it under the watchful eye of somebody who knows what they're doing, right? As opposed to just be like, here, have fun, and call me if you need something, you know? And I'm like, you know, you're holding it upside down. So I walked away from
Sorry, that was really funny.
you know, I mean, K2 meters, right? I mean, point them at your feet, because that looks like it's a remote control. So I just remember my brain going, there's a book here. Like, there's a novel, like, you know, not a nonfiction book, not I didn't want to write about ghost hunters, right? I didn't want to write, I knew that's not where it was. It's not that I wanted to start interviewing a bunch of ghost hunters and then put out like a tell-all or something like that. I said, no, as a author who deals in sci-fi, horror, and fantasy, there's a horror novel here. And I started coming up with the idea as we were walking around that night of a novel about a ghost hunt gone wrong at the Missouri State Penitentiary during one of these events. I was like, what if at some point the ghosts get fucking pissed off and shit hits the fan during this ghost hunt and everyone's like locked inside, right? And that was like, that's the only thing I had in my head. That was the only thing I had. It was enough for me to be like, this is cool. Like, I would never think to write something like this, but I can use my experiences tonight because now I've lived through 2 overnights, one that was organized by a company and one that was more of a free roam. I can kind of build off that. This is great. So I got in touch with Jenny, who's like one of the tour guides there. And if you watch any YouTube documentaries on MSP, she's always the one they interview because she's literally a firecracker of a woman. I mean, she's the woman that you want talking. She's amazing. Like, and so I found her on Facebook, and I reached out to her and I was like, hey, I don't know if you remember me. I was there 2 weekends, and she remembered me immediately. I started to like describe myself. Like, you know,
She's like the devilishly handsome one.
She's like, stop there. She's like, time out. I got you. And I was like, so I was like, hey, you know, one thing that I wasn't kind of advertising when I was walking around is that I'm a published author, and I just finished a novel. I had just turned it into my editor. So I was in that space of that like headspace where I didn't quite know what my next book was, right? I was still kind of, I still had my hangover from turning in my cyberpunk dystopian novel that I just turned into my editor. I didn't quite know what I wanted to do next. And I was like, I think there's something here. So she was like, well, what are you doing Saturday? I was like, it was our last weekend in Missouri. And I was like, nothing. She's like, well, why don't you come? I'll meet you at like 10 a.m. I'll give you a private tour of the place in daylight, and we'll talk about this. And so me and my barracks mate, Heath, he's from California, we drove to the penitentiary, and in daylight, she took us around. We went into the buildings, just the 3 of us, gas chamber. She kind of gave me the history. And I was like, yep, I'm sold. Don't know what I have to do. And somewhere in that conversation, and I don't know if it was her who said it or me who said it, somewhere somebody had the terrible idea that maybe I should write the whole book inside the penitentiary. So next thing I know, Sheila, who's the prison boss, she's in charge. She's the boss of the penitentiary. She's in charge of all the tours. She's like the liaison between the prison and the state of Missouri, right? So she makes all the decisions. She got involved, and she was like, well, she's like, I'll get back to him. What I didn't know was in the span of like the 10 days that I hadn't heard from anybody, Sheila was vetting me. She was actually researching me to make sure that I was who I said I was, and that all the claims I had actually checked out, because she didn't want to just give a complete stranger who's someone who is an author, like, because anybody can be my 8-year-old can be an author, right? If she grabs a notebook and starts writing words.
Yeah.
I think she wanted to make sure that I wasn't just like trying to find a way to hang out inside the prison for 8 weeks, right? Like on their dime. Because I was there for free the whole time, right? And these people pay in and out, in and out, in and out. So I hear from her and she's like, okay, you check out. She's like, I'm gonna tell you one thing. We've never let anybody do anything like this before. You're the first one who we allowed to stay on the property and write for this length of time. And she's like, and you're gonna be the last. She's like, like, this is it. We're not opening the doors now for, come one, come all, write books inside the penitentiary. So I felt really kind of special about that. Like that was kind of cool, And so when my night number one, me and Sheila and Jenny went out to dinner, and Sheila laid down some very strict can'ts, do's and don'ts. Sheila is one of the most amazing people you'll ever meet. She's also someone you wouldn't want to cross or meet in a dark alley if she's mad.
I mean, with a title like prison boss, am I right?
Yeah.
You just don't cross somebody who's gotten that title.
No, and you know those people who you just love. They're so much fun and they're so friendly, and she's such a big teddy bear. But I will tell you right now, I would never want to cross. That woman will bring out the machine gun eyes if she needs to, right? Like she just spray, kill everybody in front of her. So I had very specific rules that if I broke, she was gonna like have me thrown out or arrested, or and that would be the end of the project. And I was like, yes, ma'am, I'm tracking all of these rules. Like, trust me, I'm not breaking any of these. You are giving me the opportunity of a lifetime. I'm not going to be the idiot. I'm a professional. This is my brand. I'm not going to ruin something just because you're telling me I can't do something that I might want to sneak off and try to do, Yeah.
So. And every time you're in a historic location, whether it's haunted or not, these people that own the locations care.
Right.
And they're not just throwing these rules on you to, be the people in charge. Like,
right.
They want to protect these buildings, and they care about these buildings a lot more than most of us.
I'm going to tell you something. That entire staff, every single person who works there because they have pride and they love those buildings, that property. Mm-hmm. Nobody works there for the pay. Nobody works there because the hours are good, right? Because they're terrible hours. Everybody there does it because they have they're drawn to MSP. And you can see it in their faces when they give their tours, when they're talking to people. I mean, I was so just amazed at the integrity of that staff. And I think that's why, and they welcomed me with open arms and made me feel I was family by the end of those 8 weeks. I mean, a couple of them had birthdays while I was there, and I was invited to the birthday party. Yeah. I was going out to dinner with them, outside I was being invited to dinner. They totally welcomed me into their little, and that's a tight knit. Those people, yeah. They know it's like a circle of trust from Meet the Parents. Mm-hmm. Right, that's them, and they allowed me in, and I'm forever in debt and grateful to that entire staff.
I do want to touch base, so I kind of want to. What was your average day in the prison while you were staying there?
So their nights differentiated time. So there was some nights. So one of the don'ts and camps. Yeah. Actually, the biggest one was that I was not allowed to be on the property unless there was at least one paid employee somewhere else on the property. Doesn't mean they
probably an insurance thing. Yeah.
Yes, and that's right. So, and it didn't mean that they were in the same building as me. They just had to be on the property. Yeah. In fact, there was about 60% of the time that I was there, of those 8 weeks, I was completely alone in whatever building I was in. Because the staff was in housing unit 1 and I was writing in housing unit 3, or I was in, A hall and they were somewhere we're talking hundreds of yards away from, in totally different buildings. Yeah. But the rule was that if they left for whatever reason, or they closed up, they would find me and be like, okay, Brian, I'm leaving, you got to go. I'll be back at, and they would be like, they give me a time and I would usually meet them back at the gate. And so there was a lot of times when I would leave, sometimes it would be 2 a.m., sometimes it would be 3 a.m., sometimes it was 4 a.m. There was some nights it wasn't until 6 a.m. but then they'd be back at like 8 a.m. or 9 a.m. or 10 a.m. Right.
Yeah.
So there was always this gap of time. And I had a hotel down the road, a Days Inn, where that's where I would actually sleep. Because when I was in the penitentiary, I was writing. Like I've had people ask me a lot, oh, well, did you sleep there?
Yeah.
No, I was there to write. So if I was there, I was writing. I would sleep in the hotel, and then there was, I would shower, freshen up, go get my Starbucks, go, kind of shake it off, and then and they would give me their schedule, so I knew when they would be back. Like they'd be like, okay, Brian. Like in fact, it got to the point where Jenny or Lisa were texting me the schedule for the entire upcoming week, so I knew exactly the hours that someone would be on the property, so I knew when I was could be there.
So you could plan your work week essentially.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, and I kept something that was interesting was the very first night number 1, I started writing. Something paranormal in my eyes happened to me within the first 90 seconds of me writing this book. So I wrote it down. I opened up a separate file and I wrote it down. I was like, that's weird. I'm going to document that. And then something else happened. So I wrote that down. And then something else happened and I wrote that down. And I said, well, looks like I'm going to keep a diary. I kept a diary of my entire time in the penitentiary, of all the things that either paranormally or unexplained or was just kind of weird or too much of a coincidence that you couldn't ignore it. And so I kept this extensive diary through my time. And my editor talked me into publishing the diary at the end of the book. So yeah, so that's kind of like a surprise. Although I've been talking about it so much, it's probably not a surprise anymore. But so the book itself, you got to remember, is completely fiction, right? It is a horror novel, where it is a horror, balls to the wall horror novel, all fiction. But when the book ends, you get to the last page of the actual story part, you turn the page, and there is my diary, exactly how I wrote it. And what I did at the end of every night, I jotted the hours that I was there. So you can, almost like a time card. So you can see each day what time I got there, what time I left.
Well, that's the kind of stuff me and Jim love, because obviously we love horror and we love fiction, and we're all in every single media of this stuff. But when it comes to the actual hard data of what you saw, the fact that you're logging it, and the fact that you were living, essentially, you were writing, and you were mainly a writer, but you're doing the paranormal, at least documenting, because it doesn't sound like you were poking the bear too much as an investigator.
Oh, I'm too scared to poke the bear. I'm not poking any bear. Are you kidding me? No, I'm too scared for that. Nope, I'm not one of those people. Trust me. I respect their space, and they can stay over there, and I can stay over here, and we can talk through like cans and a string. Like that's just stay over there. There is no bear being poked.
Yeah, and we as investigators, we try not to poke the bear, but you see some people out there that really like to antagonize things. I will, if I treat ghosts as I treat people. If a ghost is being rude, I'm going to be rude to the ghost. But
did you guys hear what happened to me at the McClay Mansion? Am I saying that right?
Was that this weekend?
No, it was back in November.
Okay.
I think I'm saying it wrong. Damn it! That sucks. But it's in
I think it's McClay. Yeah.
McClay. Okay, so it's in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania.
Oh,
they
they
have
just
an
had
event.
an event there this past
Yes,
weekend.
they did, but this was their November event, and I went to that. There's a bathroom door in the basement that's known to slam shut on its own. So me and Bill from Get Haunted, his fiance Tanya, sat down there and waited, and I put my phone on the floor in front of the door with like the Ghost Tube app on, right? So it could like talk and say things.
Yeah.
We sat and we waited in the dark and waited and waited and waited. Nothing's happening. I stand up. I walk towards my phone, which is right in front of the door. And right when I get to it, I go, fine. If you're not going to close the fucking door, I guess we're leaving. It closed.
That's amazing.
I have never run up a flight of stairs so fast. It has turned into like the Get Haunted personal joke with me now, a staircase. I left Tanya behind. I was like every man for himself at this point. Like that door, when that door slammed in my face, that was absolutely horrifying, because it came when I like said something, like, and I was like, fine, if you're not gonna fucking close the door, I guess I'm leaving. And it was like boom, and the door was it slammed. Like I just
I did,
It
I did
said
that. I
bet.
did that at an investigation before too. We were at where was it? The Bull's Head in New York,
Yep.
and it was the doorbells, and like we heard it ring a little bit, and I was like, we were just sitting back, Jay, and I'm just joking over here. I was like, yeah, you won't move that, you won't make that bell make a noise because you're a fucking coward. And then it started ringing, and I was like, I'm the fuck out of here.
dude, I was, when Kermit the Frog gets all stressed out and he runs like this. That was me going up the stairs.
Clip that. That's a short.
Oh my goodness, yeah, that was fun. So the book took on a life of its own, and the reason why it's listed as a Get Haunted tale, like I said, in my book, the ghost hunt that goes wrong is being hosted by Get Haunted. So that's the tie-in. Is they're actually there. They're hosting an event at Missouri State Penitentiary, and they do the same thing that happened when I was there. They break the people off into the groups, and then when they go into free roam, that's when things start going south fast. And the whole book takes place over that one night. The book opens when the main character arrives at MSP, and the book closes when the free roam is over. So there is no 2 weeks later. It doesn't start like a month before the ghost hunt. It literally, you can read the book and it's almost happening in real time.
Yeah.
Like if it takes you 6 hours to read the book, you're actually reading in real time what these characters are going through, because it takes place over the span of about 6 to 7 hours, the whole novel.
I'm gonna freshen up my English lit while I can. Isn't there not a trope, but a type of writing that's like the something? It's like a Greek person's name, day or whatever, where all the events take place within the arc.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So
see, I know things. I went to school once.
There was a movie called Nick of Time. I forget who was in it. Christmas Slater, I think. But he has like 92 minutes or 90. He has like 90 minutes to like find something or someone's gonna die. And when the clock starts, there's actually 90 minutes left of the movie. So the movie it's called Nick of Time. It came out in the 90s. And I just remember loving that concept where we are actually working second to second with him. There isn't this like, it doesn't cut away and then come back and there's like 10 minutes of gone. Like we follow him for 90 minutes. And I kind of wanted, when I went to write this book, I kind of wanted to do something like that. I was like, if this is going to take the average person 6 to 7 hours to read the entire novel, and it takes place over the span of 6-7 hours, you're reading as the guests are moving around, and then stuff starts happening to them, and the ghosts start coming out a little bit more, it'll get a little bit more mad, so you're reading. There's no time jumps, right? You don't turn the page and it's 3 hours later, right? Things are happening.
Waiting for the 6-hour movie now.
Yeah. Oh, that would be amazing.
Yeah. So just do the quick plug while we got a second here. Again, Get Haunted. These Walls Still Talk, a Get Haunted tale by Brian Paone. Release date June 21st.
Yeah, with the big party.
With a big party. Everyone's going to be there except for me and Jim, apparently, because we can't plan things. No, we planned something. Well, actually, we'll keep that on the reps. But we got some stuff coming up. But I'm going to get a copy of this book as soon as possible. I'm going to read through it.
I already pre-ordered it on Amazon.
Yeah.
Word?
Yeah. Are you doing an audiobook?
Yeah, so the audiobook is being recorded right now. And the main character in the novel is female. And so I chose a female narrator to do the audiobook. And so she's been sending me, like mileposts as she goes, for me to read.
Well, that's awesome.
All of my novels are an audiobook, every single one. So
all right, Brian. Where do you want the book to sit on here?
Yeah.
Wherever it
You
looks
gotta pick your spot.
wherever it looks the most devilishly handsome.
There it is.
I got the exact spot.
All right.
Sorry about interrupting.
No, it was good. I thought you were gonna pull out
release-
one of his other books, though.
the release party is at MSP. It's at
Yeah.
Missouri State Penitentiary, and Get Haunted is hosting an 8-hour overnight ghost hunt during the book release party. So we're doing a kind of a huge
that's
bash.
awesome.
Yep.
And we only have a certain amount of tickets available for it. They have been selling. I'm expecting it to sell out by the time we get there. And the number that we were given for tickets was very strict, given to us by Sheila. She was like, "This is the amount I will allow. This is the amount of people I will allow inside this property in one night, all at the same time." So it's not one of those things where, like, if it sells out, I can't help you. Like this, I can't go like ask for more tickets. Like it's like I'm scared of Sheila. Like I'm not crossing her. Like I'm not going there and asking. So the tickets are include everything. There's going to be food and drink. When Get Haunted does a thing, they have the snacks and the coffee and the drinks, and they're going to have all their stuff out there. It's an 8-hour overnight, and then the book release party, we're going to have a scavenger hunt. Kind of some good prizes for people who win the scavenger hunt. I'll be taking people around and showing them where I wrote in very specific parts, where specific parts of the book take place. And so if people want to look that up and want tickets, the easiest way to remember this is if you're watching, you obviously see my name on the screen. My website is myname.com. It's that easy, just myname.com. And on the main page is a huge banner that says click here for tickets to the
Link in bio, link in description. We will have all that.
Yeah, we'll have it all posted.
If people can't remember and they're like, "Oh my God, how do I get tickets?" If you just remember myname.com, it's boom, everything's on the main page.
So yeah. So look for that. Definitely go buy tickets. It's gonna be worth the time. And who knows, maybe I cave and go anyway and buy a ticket.
Yeah, come on.
Let's see. Well, now that we're planning another hunt and it looks like we can't do it, so maybe I'll go out there.
Give me the date again. When's the date?
The 21st, June.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'll
Jim's
have
having a kid. He has an excuse.
I have a kid on the way on June.
No.
Between June 13th and June 21st.
So
Yeah, that's the sweet
we'll
spot.
bring the kid along.
yeah, bring the pregnant girlfriend along and have a child at MSP.
Oh my God! You imagine like someone gives birth during my book release party at MSP.
That would make the event.
Sheila comes in. No, they didn't buy a ticket. Get them out of
Buy
here.
a goddamn ticket. Get them
We're
out of
sold
here.
out. We're sold out. That one has to go. Who smuggled a baby in here?
Oh, that'd be so funny.
Well, Brian, you have been a blast to talk to. We're going to definitely run into you again at other events, whether it's June 21st or just randomly down the road. Trifecta, I'm running into you. So
Hey, so the caveat to that, we're gonna add there. Like I said, there is going to be a book 2, and book 2 is going to be written 100% at the Real Ditto House in Kentucky. They are letting me, so I am coming for the trifecta that weekend, but I'm there for research and outlining purposes. So I'll be there with you guys, but I'm not necessarily part of the investigations. And also I'll be doing mostly outlining and observing and taking notes. So I see how you guys do stuff. So then it can make
to make it into the book.
Right.
So Paranormal Nut's going to be in the book.
Listen, if we're in the book, I just ask that you kill us instantly and brutally in the best way.
Like the very first sentence.
Yeah.
You ever see the movie Ghost Ship where 300 people?
Oh my God.
Oh yeah, they get decapitated right away.
That's how it's going to open with Jim and Sean just in the first four sentences. Yeah.
They walked in and these axes came flying out of the house.
And everyone was just cool with it and went about their day. I don't know.
They just walked over them, actually.
Let's see the Martian beat that.
Yeah. Eat your heart out, Matt Damon.
Yeah. Oh.
So,
well,
but yeah, so I'm going to be writing. I'm going back by myself for almost 3 weeks, and Ernie and Denise are letting me stay, giving me a room. And I'm writing book 2 in that house. So that will be fun.
That'd be awesome.
I'm sure after this book comes out, every haunted house, every haunted mansion, every haunted prison could be like, Brian, come stay at my place. Write a book about my place.
So we won't So we won't talk about the fact that I already have a potential book 3 location because that happened.
I knew it. I knew when you told me how, like, when I started figuring out, like, everyone's going to want to do this. This is just like the greatest thing ever. So,
But it's free marketing for you, right?
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
Doesn't cost you anything other than letting me stay there to write a book, and then you're forever in a novel that will always be talked about.
Exactly. So if you're, if you own a very famous haunted location, reach out to brianperone.com, perone.com.
Yeah.
Uh, this has been a blast. We gotta have you
It's super
back
nutty.
on the show. It's been super nutty. That's what we try. That's what we strive for here.
We try to do that.
Well, thank you all for showing up. Thank you, Brian. It's been a blast. We're going to have you back on the show. We're going to see you in the future. And June 21st, go check it out. MSP, Brian Perone, and These Walls Still Talk, a Get Haunted Tale. Thank you so much. Stay tuned and stay crazy.
Love you guys. Bye.